All right, my friends, we are back Tuesday night. We got Hobie Seacrest from Monoprice. How's it do? How you guys doing there, Hobie?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing, Gene?
Not too bad. I just got a little workout in tonight, got to eat. Now I'm kind of relaxed, kind of chill. I want to hear all about, what's going on with Monoprice, with the Monolith series. God, man, you guys, every time I think of Monolith now, it reminds me, for a car analogy, because I'm really into cars, it reminds me of what Genesis is doing with Hyundai, right? So for years, people didn't take Hyundai really seriously. It was kind of a budget car. But then Genesis came around, and now the G70 and the
Right.
GV70, they're kicking ass. I mean, the Koreans are coming up with incredible cars. They've branched out of the Hyundai name, and now they're into Genesis. It's become more upscale. That's kind of how I see what you guys are doing with the Monolith series, even though it's under the Monoprice umbrella. You guys are putting some serious engineering chops behind your products that you're releasing, whether it's your processors, your speakers, your subwoofers, you name it. I mean, it's like you guys have really been taking no prisoners over the last couple of years.
Dude, thanks a lot for saying that. That actually means a lot. And I think that is sort of an apt comparison, the Hyundai Genesis. I have actually used that comparison amongst some other people before. Uh, yeah, I mean, we try to make great product that comes in at a better value than what the MSRP is. And, uh, a lot of these products are worked on for a long time. They're done from scratch for Monoprice, and I've been real fortunate to work with some great folks on this stuff. Robert Wills, Dan Romer at Clarity Audio.
Hmm.
Worked on the speakers with a lot of the speakers, and especially the subwoofers. Morris Kessler with ATI, Jerry at MDS, and those folks on the processor. So it's been a great experience for me personally to learn from some of these people uh, on the products and things that we put out.
So yeah, I mean, if you guys go on our homepage, I just released the Product of the Year awards for 2021, and we've got the Monolith 16-inch THX sub. The thing is a bruiser. It's got so much output on it that I've actually come up with a new subwoofer protocol beyond the Extreme, because this subwoofer exceeds Extreme. We're still working out the details. I'm working with James Larson and Matthew Pose on it, but I've got the logo, and it's called the Bassaholic. Oh no, that's the wrong logo. Damn it. It's the Bassaholic Maximus. I was going between Buster and Maximus, and everybody, we ran a poll on YouTube, basically said they like Maximus better. So I've got to update that logo, but we'll be putting more announcements on that in the coming months. So I'm interested to see if your 16 will meet the Maximus. I think it will, because that thing's got prodigious output. I mean, God, that thing is just a bruiser. Not small though. So if you don't have the space, you can't put a sub like that in your house. But you do have the 13, and the 13 has got really
Right.
respectable output as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the 16, I think you can hide two small children in that cabinet if you really need to. It's, one way you can probably watch your movies in peace, I guess. Yeah, they're both, I mean, both the 13 and 16, I think are bruisers and have a lot of output. And extremely punchy too. I think they're honestly just as good for music as they are for movies. I think they're for a ported sub and for their size, they're relatively quick and speedy on transients and things like that too. So I think they're a great all around sub, and yeah, they definitely dig deep and produce a ton of output. I've seen people on like ABS or even on Audioholics buying 216s, and I'm sort of like, I hope you have
Wow.
a
Yeah.
huge room, because 116 can knock you off your couch pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're going to choose between the 16 or two 13s, I would always tell people to get the two 13s,
Me too.
because they're smaller. Multiple subs is always a benefit for modal
Hmm.
density in the room, smooth out the bass, and you do get a coupling, even though they're not co-located at below 30 hertz or so. They still act like one large sub because of the long
Right.
wavelength, so you still get that extra boost that you wouldn't have with just a single 16 as opposed to two 13. So I would definitely tell people to do that. That's definitely a good alternative for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I always duals are always preferable, like you said, just to smooth out the bass response across the room. If you can, if you can handle it. I mean, I could imagine trying to co-locate two 16s and any room, even the most dedicated room. That'd be a big corner to cope
Yeah,
with.
or you do it behind a false wall or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I've got the updated logo I wanted to share with you guys. It's the Bassaholic Maximus. We're working out the details. If for some reason your subwoofer doesn't meet it, you're going to have to, call up Dan and put a little bit more of a powerful amplifier in it, or just, I doubt it. I think it will meet it. That's the one thing I wanted to ask you on the 16. Does that have an 1800 watt or 2000 watt amp? Because I saw back and forth between that on the specs.
Well, I think technically it's 18. You could call it 2000. It's 1800 RMS and like 3900 peak. And I want to say we just rounded off into 2000 RMS, 3900 peak.
Gotcha.
It's sort of not incorrect either way because it's just where the DSP works. But
what matters is the massive amount of clean SPL you get out of the sub, more so by how many watts it's doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, yeah. Watts are, well, I mean, the amount of watts a subwoofer has isn't really the end all be all in that subwoofer's performance. I mean, look at the various range of power in a lot of subwoofers that are good performers at 400 watts or 1200 watts or whatever, right? So,
yep. So I wanted to ask you, because there's people talking about the HTP1 processor. We reviewed it like a little over a year ago. James Larson loved it. What kind of support are you guys doing for it? First of all, is it in stock? And then secondly, what kind of support, what kind of future updates are we going to see next year?
So it's currently not in stock. It was, partly because it sold beyond our expectations. So we didn't have as much supply as demand came in. And then of course the AKM fire did sort of set back production of the AKM 4493. We have been able to get enough 4493 chips. We are waiting on some boards to come in, and hopefully they'll be back in stock in January of next year. There won't be any updates to it. We are still, as far as features or performance, because honestly, it's a pretty robust feature set as it is outside of HDMI 2.1. We are still working through testing HDMI 2.1 boards and the configurations for that to put in the processor. I am hoping we have HDMI 2.1 in that beast next year sometime. That is the goal, probably by, hopefully like midsummer. But we are going through testing boards right now for HDMI 2.1.
Gotcha. Now, what about your regular Monolith amplifiers? Those have been out of stock for a while. Are we going to see any kind of supply increase coming soon on those?
Yeah, I mean, we had really good supply starting in mid-September, and we only sold out due to Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales where we did a free shipping promo. Those should be back in stock in about the next week or so. They're being built right now in Montebello, so we should be bringing them back in.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I know we're out of the 2.9 or the 9/11 channel right now, and pretty low in quantity on the 7. So
I really like the Monolith 11X because it's got a good amount of output. There's only a handful of 11 channel amplifiers on the market, but none of them have the robustness for the price as the Monolith 11. Huge power supply on it. I mean, I'm talking you got to spend, like on a Storm audio amp that I'm using, a 16 channel, that thing's like 11 grand. So I mean, to get something that goes beyond the Monolith 11X in one chassis with 11 channels, what you guys are doing is a home run right there. You've got kind of a lone wolf, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think, to me, it's great because your main channels have plenty of power with 200 watts or 300 watts peak, and then your height and Atmos channels at 100 watts. I mean, that's more than enough. I would be surprised if any home theater is really tapping out 100 watts on a lot of those.
And you've got two giant toroids in there. So I mean, you're pulling all the current off of that wall. Is that a 20 amp rated IEC plug on it or 15?
It's actually, it works on a 15. I mean, I would recommend a 20 amp circuit, obviously, for anybody's home theater, but it works on a 15 just fine. And yeah, I mean, that's a 115 pound amplifier or something like that. I mean, it's you get your watts and a hernia all at the same time. So it's kind of a dual use amplifier.
Well, one thing you guys are working on going forward is a way to make an amplifier as powerful without the hernia, without the heavy weight, or a
Yeah.
little bit of a reduction in the weight. And actually, there's a question here. People are wondering about your new Class D amplifiers. What module? I believe you're using the Hypex similar to what ATI uses, right? You're not using the Purify.
No, we're using Hypex, not Purify.
Right.
I believe the module is the NC502, if I'm not mistaken. We kind of modified it a little bit. We put a big old heat sink on it. I actually have the module, but because the heat sink that kind of is pre-built on those is not as robust as like what Morris Kessler would want to have on there. So he modified it to, and I'm not one to ever argue with Morris.
No, yeah.
There's there's what I know compared to him. So I will generally go with anything he suggests. But go ahead.
The one great thing about all of ATI type amplifiers, which is what the Monoprice amps are based out of, is they're field tested. You know, they have longevity. Yes. They last, and they last for a reason. They're built extremely well.
Yeah, they're built like a tank. I mean, they build them. You know, we not too far from me up in Montebello, about 20 minutes away. I go over there all the time, watching things get built and put together. But they, it's like anything electronic. If nothing goes wrong within the first 30 days, generally nothing will go wrong for the next 10 years.
Unless it's a plate amplifier for a subwoofer, man, those are the most unreliable for everybody. I'm not bashing anybody in general, but they're just plate amps and notoriously fail. Yeah,
our plate amps. I agree with you. They're definitely more fidgety than like an ATI amplifier. But our amplifiers and our subs so far have been honestly relatively bulletproof.
That's good.
We've sold. I mean, I'm not saying we don't have any defective amps in our subs. You can see the forums that has happened, but it is pretty low quantity compared to the amount we sell. So, I mean, luckily the amplifier that is in there has been sort of, been around for 5-6 years and has been put through its paces. And, we burn them in at full power for hours on end before we put them on a sub. So hopefully anything that does go wrong is going to go wrong at the factory. And usually if it goes wrong on a few, it's like that batch of manufacturing, and we catch it at the factory before it goes into a subwoofer. So, I mean, obviously defects happen later, but we do try to burn them in for about 24 hours at the factory before they go into an actual cabinet.
Gotcha. Now someone here is looking at 2 16s. Is 120 amp dedicated circuit enough for both? I would say in most cases, if you're only using that 20 amp circuit for those two subs, you probably will be okay, especially because they're Class D amps. They're pretty efficient. The one thing you don't want to do, which I learned, is I had a my RBH amplifier, which is running the subs in my towers. I had that on the same circuit as my Epson projector because I didn't know the builder screwed up my wiring. And when we played the Disney Amaze demo, as soon as when that bass hit with all the LFE, everything shut off. And when I unplugged when I figured out the projector, which was consuming about 500 watts, that was the threshold of tripping my 20 amp breaker. So if you are going to use 120 amp line, definitely don't plug anything else in but those subwoofers, and you should be okay.
Right. That was what I was going to suggest. Yeah. If you just put those two subs on it, not like the amplifier too, I think you're going to be okay.
Awesome. So, all right. So let me understand now. So you've got your best subwoofers are the Monolith 13 and the 16. Those are the ported ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a sealed version of those subs, or are you revamping some of the other subs now that you've kind of changed things around with these two flagships?
I don't know, because you can. So the short answer is currently
smaller
we don't
box.
have.
I want smaller box.
Yeah, I understand. So I understand, but so we did a line of sealed subwoofers on the 10, 12, and 15 before with the smaller box. And to be frank with you, they really didn't. I mean, they sold at like. For every 10 of the ported, we sold one sealed. And so it wasn't it didn't make sense to keep them in the assortment for us. Now, my thinking with that is you can stuff the ports on the Monolith subs and run them in sealed mode and kind of get that, sealed sound quality that some people are looking for. But what it really told me is at least the customers buying the Monolith subwoofers don't care how big they are.
Yeah, you have the opposite of what most manufacturers are trying to make things smaller for bigger appeal.
Right.
You guys are selling the bigger stuff easier.
Right. And I will say I had at one of the CDs some time ago, I had it was a vice president of another speaker company who I'll leave nameless, but we were sort of getting a coffee. And this is when we were first showing our subwoofers. And what he told me is he said, our own research actually shows that any subwoofer over $800, nobody cares how big it is. That's not even a process of that purchase. Now, under that size, under that threshold
price,
of MSRP, apparently it becomes a much bigger part of the purchasing decision. So for me, not that we'd already had the subs there, so it's not like that played into what we were doing. But then I remembered that after we put out the sealed subwoofers and they didn't perform quite up to, because it seemed like there was a lot of demand for the sealed sub, like on the forums. It was just like, man, I wish it was sealed. I wish it was sealed. And I was like, well, they were already in the works because honestly, from an assortment perspective, it would make sense to have a ported and sealed sub. But they just didn't, the sell-through wasn't there for us. Maybe it's something we could look into again, but I also think from a certain perspective, how small can a 16-inch sealed even get? I mean, it's not going to get tiny. I mean, I did kind of feel like the 10-inch sealed sub we had was sort of like a portable 10-inch sub you can put in your pocket compared to the 10-inch ported, but in terms of size. But they just didn't seem to be maybe what people were looking at from us.
So I want to share something with you here while we're talking about that whole sealed versus ported thing. And you're very aware of the measurements that James Larson and Matthew pose, and to some extent I do. I don't do a whole lot of subwoofer measurements anymore because James is just the master of it. So he's got a measurement called group delay, and you can see here on the 16 that we did for you guys, anything below like a cycle and a half is really good for ported, especially because a ported sub will have higher group delay below its tuning. And you could see here that your sub is incredibly well behaved in any mode you pretty much use, and it's still right around a cycle at 20 hertz. So that kind of kills the whole argument where it's not going to be musical because it's not sealed, because this shows you otherwise. There's no overhang here. This is an incredibly well-controlled, well-tuned subwoofer, and this measurement here is what directly shows you that.
Yeah, I mean, we worked on the 16-inch subwoofer for a long time because we knew it was going to be the statement piece for the Monolith line. So we went several rounds of testing and developing the drivers, working on DSP and trying to push everything as much as possible, but with keeping it controlled. I mean, I think we did a really good job of doing that.
What's interesting is the highest group delay measurement is the one where it's in THX mode, which is still a good measurement, but look at the other modes in comparison. The blue, yeah. So I think that's because they do some of their own roll off in their EQ.
Yeah, they do. I mean, truthfully, some of the THX measurements and what they define is sort of slightly a dark art, a little bit. But
what makes me wonder is I was looking at I'm a numbers guy, obviously. I was looking at the CEA 2010 data that James did on this sub, looking at the Paralysson D215, which is like an incredible sub, much higher expense than this. This sub actually has more output below 30 hertz by a good 5 or 6 dB. I'm wondering why this sub isn't Dominus rated. Did you guys come out with this sub before the Dominus spec, or was it a higher licensing fee to go to Dominus? Did you submit it for Dominus? That's kind of the question I guess I'm asking.
So you don't really, trying to figure out how much I can say. The
I put you on the spot.
no, it's cool because I think it's an interesting. I'll just say I had the same interesting question for THX.
Mm-hmm.
So some of what they measure a sub is a little, like I said, it's kind of a dark art. It's not very, it's not, I don't want to say cut and dry, but I don't know. I mean, we don't know exactly every single point they're trying to measure for THX.
It's Roswell technology. You can't know.
Kind of, right. It's their proprietary criteria. They don't always share with you. It's kind of like an MPAA rating, which is just like you're getting an R, it just feels a little intense. And that's kind of why it's, but you're like, well, what do you mean intense? Well, we can't tell you what to do because that's censorship. But so it's a little bit of that. But yeah, I mean, I've kind of proposed like it probably should be Dominus from my perspective if it has more output than the per listen. But then I don't know. There may be things the per listen subwoofer does better than ours.
Well, the per listen does have the lowest distortion we've ever seen in a sub, so that's the one thing it has, and it should. I mean, the thing is like $9,000, so
yeah,
it's beautiful too. It's like a it's a work of art, and it's just funny because man, I was looking at the product of the year award demos, and Dan has got like 3 or 4 products in our product of the year awards this year. This guy's busy. He's busy for you. He's busy for Paralisten. He's busy for Arendelle Sound. He's done stuff with Emotiva. I mean, this guy's everywhere. He's like the rock star right now in loudspeakers that people aren't really talking about, but they should be.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, like I said, he's been a terrific asset for the Monolith product. I feel like I work really well with him, and we're generally speaking on the same page and where we want the performance to be for the price point, right? And I think I don't want to speak for him, but I think with Perlisten, which is his own company, I think he was able to just let his engineering wings fly.
Yeah.
And design the end all be all speaker
Cost no
system,
object.
cost no object, and just go because I'm all it's always a push pull on trying to get the costs right where we need them to be for maximum performance for the dollar and things like that. And that I don't think he had to think too much about any of that stuff with the Perlisten speakers. So I mean, yeah, they're incredible, and I think that's going to put him on the map.
For sure. So we got
maybe he won't ever need to design speakers for a guy like me again.
I think he likes the challenge, to be honest. It's harder to make a good performing product with a budget than one with unlimited budget.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, that's true. I mean, sometimes it is more fun that way to have some certain barriers to
design constraints. Yeah. So we got a cool comment here. Somebody bought one of your 16s off of James's review. And again, awesome. James has just been like busier than a rabbit, man. He's been reviewing so much product for us. He's going to be like, he can't measure stuff outdoors now until April, but I've got like 4 more reviews that he did that I haven't published yet. So we're going to be busy with his content over the next couple of months over the holidays, and hopefully we'll be back in gear when things warm up on his end.
Yeah, I saw it was a nice cold snap where he lives and a lot of rain, I think. So
yeah, not good for subwoofer testing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I used to live roughly around where James lives. I used to live in basically Chicago, in a suburb of Chicago, like him. And yeah, doing stuff outdoors from about October to April is tough.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to ask you before we move on to your new Encore speaker line, just thinking about those new Class D amplifiers, the Hypex ones.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to use a linear supply like what's in the ATI amps, or did they come up with an SMPS?
It's going to be an SMPS.
Nice, because ATI, in my knowledge, they've never used an SMPS. So this is like a new power supply for them?
Yeah, it's a new power supply for them. It was some of it was just for cost considerations. Like you said, they use an LPS and the ATI Class D. So, I mean, I think there was some cost considerations, and also too, I'm not trying to challenge his product in any way, shape, or form.
Well,
we're different.
An animals. SMPS can actually cost more than a linear if it's done like no holds bar kind of thing.
Well, and to be honest with you, on the HTP one, we went down the path of doing a linear power supply for the HTP-1. And we actually spent a considerable amount of time and energy trying to get that to perform as well as the switching power supply.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, honestly, we just kind of finally went, what am I doing? Like I'm chasing the aura that a linear power
Yeah, if
supply
you've already
always
got
performs better.
right.
And it's like we're having a hard time getting to be up to snuff with the switching power supply. So I mean, it's one of those things you learn when you're developing things. I spent a couple months trying to chase the dragon on that one.
So will these new Class D amps, will they be at the same power level as the current monoliths, and will they replace the linear monoliths, or would they coincide with them?
I think they're going to coincide with them. They're going to be around the same power level as the existing monolith amplifiers, around 200, 250 watts per channel, an 8 ohm. And we're only going to start, we're going to start with an 8 channel at a higher power, around 200, 250, and a lower 8 channel at about 100, 125. And sort of see how it goes. I mean, they're a perfect complement to the HTP-1 by one of each, and you have your amplifier section for the HTP-1.
Yeah, 2 of them gives you basically 16 channels.
Yeah, and if they sell, I mean, it's kind of how we do things, or I do things. I have like a massive matrix of all the products I want to come out with based on stuff I'd buy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'll start with these. I'll start with the 8 channel versions. If they sell, I think in a short amount of time, you probably see a 6, 4, and 2 channel versions of those. And that's sort of how we did the other, the original monolith amplifier. We started with the 7 channel that did extremely well, and then we expanded the assortment.
Do you think that the new Class Ds will be stable down to 2 ohms? Because maybe down the road, you guys could do a bridge tied load and come up with like monoblocs that are kilowatt monobloc, something like that.
Yes.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. I think
with a TFT VU meter.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, we're mono price. I kind of think it's strange we don't have a monobloc.
That's true.
Like we should have a monobloc, and mono is even a monolith, and it'd be cool to. I mean, I think it's time we have a monobloc. I don't think it'll be the 7 channel sells. I mean, honestly, like crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd probably be at that level of sales, but it'd be a nice piece that we should have.
It's a niche, and it, what it does is it gets audiophiles that take you more seriously too. When they see you have you got a monobloc, they must be serious now, and it might drive more sales to your 7 channel amps. So I think it's good all around, especially for people that like massive amounts of power like me.
I agree with you completely.
See, I want you to make products that I want in my house, so that's really my motivation here.
No, and honestly, that's the criteria for all of the product here, right? That I put out. I've said this in others, but it's just me doing the monolith. Like I'm it. I don't have a team other than the other folks I work with at the factory level or the engineering level. But the products that we put out is things that I would buy.
You're doing awesome, man. You really are. You're juggling a lot.
I appreciate. I mean, this is being an audio enthusiast. It's like I can't complain. It's like the greatest job in the world. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways. I've been into audio since I was like 10 years old. So I'm obviously a lot older than that now. This is the coolest thing to be able to develop and create products that are good and people like. And I mean, but there's a lot of good stuff out there. It's a really good, I mean, as an audio fan, there's a lot, you can find a lot of good subs and speakers at really good price points. I think it's a good time to be into this hobby as an enthusiast. There's just a lot of good stuff out there. I mean, right now is like it's more so trying to find, I mean, I think it's actually hard to buy a horrible audio product right now. It seems like as long as
I agree. I mean, if you think about the kind of performance we're getting out of audio gear now, for cheap price versus 10, 15 years ago was unheard of. You just couldn't do it. I mean, the stuff we're getting now is just beyond the budget stuff is getting that good.
Yeah, I agree.
So we have a user that says he has a 15-inch sub. He bought it because of us, and they're looking at getting a replacement 15.
Purchase 15. They were getting
I guess he's asking if he could buy a replacement woofer.
We don't have. I don't think we're looking at sell. We will be bringing drivers in for replacement. To be honest with you, we haven't had to. I can't think of a driver that's gone bad. There have been, like we were talking earlier about the plate amps. There have been plate amp failures, but I don't actually know of a driver failure.
Maybe you should just contact you guys for service or something.
Send me an email.
Yeah,
my email is out there in the ether. They can find me.
So do you have any Encore speakers with you now? I was going to show a picture. I thought you were going to have them, but I'll see if I could pull one up and maybe you could start talking about the Encore series of speakers that you guys just came out with.
Sure. Actually, I don't. Unfortunately, we originally scheduled this for the office yesterday, and I don't have them at my house.
Okay, I'm going to pull up a picture here anyways. So we have, what's the model of the tower? Is it the T6?
The T6.
So we've got James Larson has the T6 speakers in for review now. I actually haven't even asked him how they've been doing. So he's here. Maybe he could comment if he started listening to them or not. But I want to show a picture here, and then you can kind of give us a rundown of the series. Let's see if I can find the picture.
Yeah, I believe James emailed me and said they sounded amazing, if I remember correctly.
That's a good thing, because
I don't know. No, I think he didn't even unbox them yet.
So these are the three models. Why don't you give us a rundown, the price, and what the hell? Why do you have that big giant waveguide on that tweeter? Is that just cosmetic, or is there performance there behind that?
There is some performance enhancement there. I mean, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and talking with Robert at Clarity, like it actually would have passed THX certification for dispersion, but we weren't really trying to THX certify these speakers. It wasn't on a budget series. I didn't think it would make much sense. But yeah, these all have 6.5-inch woofers. The tower's 2.5 way, with basically a 1-inch silk dome tweeter, and the big waveguide, with the bookshelf speaker, and then a center channel. The center is sealed because I think it makes it easier for placement in a home theater. So we made the center channel sealed, even though the tower and bookshelf are ported. I do think, the bookshelf and tower have some really nice bass response for a speaker at this price point. And they are, fairly detailed, especially at this price point for what you get compared to some other speakers.
What's the cone material of the woofer?
I believe it's poly. It's paper coated poly.
Paper coated, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. It looks like an Arundel sound speaker. It really does. I mean, it looks like kind of the poor man's Arundel because of the waveguide. And I know other people have noticed that as well. I'm sure it has kind of similar function, and that's why you guys have that there. And you've got the same kind of engineering chops of the people that are designing these things. So,
no, exactly. It's we definitely were wanting to hit a certain price point because there's a lot of people buying speakers around this range, and it was a challenge to see if we can kind of over deliver on the price performance ratio at around $350 for a pair of bookshelves. Feedback so far has been really good. Most people that have purchased them seem to like them a lot, and we will have a 5.25-inch version of all of these coming out probably in about a month, about 6 weeks. So there'll be the T5, the B5, and the C5.
Okay, so the tower, the T6 tower, that's $800 a pair or $850 a pair?
$800 a pair.
Okay, and then the bookshelf you said are like $179 each?
Yeah, but when you buy two, it comes down to $360 for a pair.
And then what about the center channel?
The centers, I believe it's $249 for on the 6.5.
Okay. Have you guys thought about maybe doing an active bookshelf, for like a desktop application?
Yes.
Awesome.
I'm not saying I think if these really sort of take I think I mean obviously it wouldn't be that much work to put a nice little amplifier in here with an active crossover. I think that
That
could
would
actually be
be,
I think
yeah.
that could be a really nice speaker.
So I
Uh,
want those. When you make those, I want I have a space here on my desk with no speakers. I'd like to have those here. I'd like to test those out.
Yeah, I will when we get further down the road. I will definitely let you test them out.
So we got initial feedback from James. He said he just unboxed them, and that's a compliment. When he says something sounded nice from what he heard, that's good, because he's very pragmatic. So I'm glad to hear him say it sounds nice.
Yeah, me too. It's like I said, I kind of always when I send product out. I mean, I don't know. It's like when you're working on a product for this long, you do get a little bit of tunnel vision, and sort of like when you release them out to the world, I hold my breath not too long, or else I would die. But I hold my breath, and I'm like, what are people going to say? And I hope it's
good.
nice things.
And he's just talking about the waveguide. It's a spherical waveguide.
Spherical. Yeah.
Yep. So
that's kind of like the center. You can actually use as an LCR if you want to put it in a vertical position.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So the one thing that's really missing from your product line, and the reason why I say this is I've been doing consulting on the side for our fans if they want me to help them put together systems, and I've been recommending actually your THX speakers a lot because they just fit a good price point, but you don't have an equivalent in-ceiling speaker. You don't have an equivalent series of speakers either from Encore or from the THX line. Are you guys looking at maybe upping some of your in-ceiling speakers for for Atmos, or just for good quality distributed audio? What's your plan there?
So you will see, marketing. Good thing marketing is never in on these calls. I tend to I don't see what the harm is, but we are working on in-ceiling speakers. I think they'll be out in Q2, THX certified, 6.5 inch, one angled 20 degrees. My guess is they'll be looking like Q2 of next year. I mean, probably May, June timeframe. We will be extending the in-wall speaker lineup. So anybody that's familiar with what we have right now, you will see but a couple more, a step down and a step up to what's there right now for an in-wall speaker. So it'll be, the step down will be a tweeter, dome mid-range, and a 6.5 inch woofer. And then the step up from the 365 that's there now to the 465 with 4 woofers and a tweeter, dome mid-range. So those the in-walls have done excellent. And they're really good. They're really good for the money. I mean, they're crazy.
It's unusual that, because you guys are Internet Direct and you're kind of dealing with the giant subwoofers, it's unusual that you have a full line of in-wall speakers of that caliber. When I looked at that, I was like, a lot of your competitors, your online competitors, just don't have those solutions. And I think that's awesome that you're doing flush mount. Do you have back boxes for your in-wall speakers? What do you recommend for that?
We don't, and that's something we're working on as sort of as an add-on. So you can, as either an installer, you can basically do an open baffle, or you can buy a back box for us. So we need to tool the back box up and get that onto market, because that's.
Can you do the back box after the drywall's already up, or does it have to be pre-construction?
I think you can do it after it's up, from what we've been looking at so far. You can sort of attach it and just sort of put it in. I mean, we'll also have some on-wall speakers too, so you can just hang them on your wall too. Those will be coming out.
Oh, that's cool.
Q1.
So you know what you need next is you need a THX, or on that line, a passive LCR soundbar.
That's one of the on-wall.
Oh, do you have it? Do you have an LCR on wall, or is it?
It's basically it's a 3. It will be. It's a 3-channel. Yeah.
It's all in one box.
I'm dipping all into our CES information.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, there will be an on-wall. I'm not really calling it a soundbar, but it's basically a soundbar, an LCR.
And is it custom cut to the size of the TV? Like if you have a 65, 75, or 85, or is it just one size fits all?
Yeah, it's just one size fits all right now.
Gotcha. Got a nice comment about you, Hobie. I want to share here.
Okay.
Hard to find in the industry. That's true. That's true. Someone's asking, can you use a center as an LCR to any benefit? Only if it's vertically oriented, I would say, right?
Right.
You get more output. You have two 6.5s as opposed to one for the bookshelf. So you have higher sensitivity, more output. Yeah. That would be interesting to use your center channel as 3 LCRs vertically mounted.
Yeah, actually, I'll send it to your email, Jeans. I tried to paste it in the chat, but
the soundbar.
Yeah, the on-wall.
Okay, let me see if I get that. So what else is coming? I guess you guys are going to be at CES.
We won't have a suite. I don't know how much Monolith product will be there because it's difficult for us to sort of display in-wall speakers.
This is cool that you attached it inside the email, so I can't extract it. Is there a way you could send it as an attachment?
Wow. Then that just means I'm.
You have an Apple computer, don't you?
No, I'm using a laptop beside that.
Let me do a quick Photoshop on this. You could tell this is not rehearsed. We are live, my friends. We're getting you breaking news before CES. Hobie's probably going to get in trouble after this, but you know what? It's all worth it.
Most likely. But I like to get the word out. You know what I mean? It's like stuff I've been working on. We've been working on these since 2019, and it's like I feel like I just need to tell the world.
Yeah, there's no time like the present. I'm actually surprised by this. You're actually it looks like you have concentric drivers in here, huh?
Yeah. So, and what's really cool about the drivers in here is we also took the same driver and made a THX certified 5.1 system with an 8-inch subwoofer that'll also be coming out in Q1 of next year. So it's a bunch of 5 concentric drivers in a cabinet and sort of an angled triangular cabinet with a 8-inch sub for about $800.
Oh man!
And those suckers are like ruler flat to 80 hertz to 20 kilohertz. They're insane. Dan did those too, but so that should be. I imagine I'll be coming to see you.
Okay, I got it. Hold on a second. You still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, my audio cut out for a minute. I had to reboot. I think I got it. Here we go. Boom. Look at that. Tell us about it.
Well, I mean, that's the LCR on-wall speaker with concentric drivers. So 3 concentric drivers, then passive radiators for everything else.
I like it. I really do. So those are 6.5s or 5.25s?
They're 3s.
Oh, they're 3s. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is that's why you have the passives. They get some extra bass out of it.
Exactly.
Sweet. Are there any other finish options, or is it just black?
Just black. I have found that the other finish options maybe seem to be wanted, but don't. Black is what always sells like 99% of the time.
And you said this is going to be about $800?
No, it's not going to be that much. The 5.1 system is going to be $800. I can send you a picture of that too.
How soon can you get us one of these?
Pretty soon.
Because I might actually have an install. I'd like to try this out at my in-laws. They've been asking me for a passive sound bar, and I'm like, I'm trying to think of what, is a decent price, and this looks like it fits the bill. Is this mountable? Like mounting on the wall? You got brackets for it?
Yes, but it'll also have a cross-shaped mounting thing where you can just hang it by a pretty simple, unsophisticated mounting.
Sweet. What's the model number, or is there one?
OW-3.
OW
on wall 3, because there's a 3 channel.
Put a little note here, so if anybody that's not watching this live, there we go. We just broke some news for you guys here on our virtual press event with Hobie before CES. See, we bring you guys the information first. That's awesome.
And then I just sent you, this is the 5.1 system.
So you could share your screen if you want. If you hit the
Oh,
little
yeah.
share. Yeah. So if you want to share
Well, maybe
stuff.
if we do that, well, I'm trying, what else do I have on my screen here? Maybe put down the, there's some things I'm actually pulling from sort of our dev system behind the scenes from our website.
Right.
So I can't really share my screen.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, cause they're not live anywhere.
Awesome. Well, I think we pretty much covered all your new products, unless you have any other secrets you want to divulge here. I could always delete it afterwards. Give us the scoop. Give us the tea.
Yeah, no, so I mean, like you said, there'll be on walls, in walls, 5.1 system, which I just emailed you the picture.
Let me see if I can pull that up before we end this transmission.
Dual 10 subwoofer.
An in-wall or a
box.
Or a oh, okay. Oh, what happened with the dual 15? Is that gone now that you have the 16?
No, that's still in. I think that'll remain in the assortment. It performs really well, and I think people.
I think it's massive.
Yeah, but people. I mean, it's a show off piece. You know,
You
it's
guys
a conversation piece, as they say.
You guys have cornered the market on massive.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I got the 5.1 system. So this is the system you're talking about that was $800, right?
Correct. So those are all those are concentric drivers with an 8-inch subwoofer, THX certified. And like I said, these things, the concentric drivers came out. You know what? It might be 4-inch. Now I'm thinking about it.
This is good for like a gaming system or a near field system.
Exactly. Like I said, and the response on these, like I said, is ruler flat from 80 hertz, almost to 20 kilohertz. I mean, it's not a lot of deviation from there. And the sub's flat to 100 hertz. So
do you have a bracket to mount the speakers?
Yeah.
Cool.
The
what's the model of this again?
It'll be called the 518 HT.
518 HT.
Yep. And that's because it's a 5.1 with an 8-inch subwoofer. It kind of all makes sense somewhere.
It does. It just doesn't roll off the tongue. I'll be honest with you. But there we go. The 518 HT. These are going to be about $800 for the 5.1 system.
And the satellites and the sub will be sold by itself too.
And that's a 10-inch sub or an 8?
8.
It's an 8. I'm sorry. Yeah, obviously with the. There we go.
James said Monolith 24-inch Dominus.
You need a 24-inch. You need a 24-inch sub.
Yeah, let's do 25.
Cool. Well, Hobie, I appreciate you dropping all this knowledge on us. I'll just look through the comments real quick and see if there's anything that stands out that we didn't cover. This guy keeps asking about that 15-inch driver. I'm just going to say, if you're having a problem with the driver, just contact Monolith or Monoprice, right? I mean, you guys have an 800 number, right?
Yeah, or shoot me an email. I mean, it's just hobie.seacrest@monoprice.com, and I'm probably going to have a lot of people email me now. Although my email is already out there in the wilderness. I get a lot of emails.
Height mounting the Encore 5B. Can we get some mounting options? I guess they want to use them as height channels. What do you say about that?
So I do think if the Encore system really sells in a robust way, which it looks like it's going to, I think it'll make sense that we'll do an Encore height speaker, kind of one of those at an angle that you can hang on the wall. It points down. I think.
Yeah, like the prime elevation from.
Yeah, exactly. The prime elevation.
Yep.
I think it makes a lot of sense. And maybe even do Atmos toppers for the speakers too. Although it's not the greatest way to get Atmos, but it's a lot. If you can't put holes in your ceiling.
Yeah, I call that the last resort, basically.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. quick recap on the new amps, please. I came late. So a quick recap, if I can remember from memory, you've got the Hypex Encore 502 or something. What was it? The 5.
Yeah.
But it's an 8-channel. You're doing a 2-channel, 4-channel, and 8-channel, or just an 8-channel?
No, so we're going to start with 2 8-channels. So it's an 8 by 200, 250 watts roughly, and it's we're kind of getting the final reporting in now, and then an 8-channel by 100, 125 watts with the power supply. So if those do well, then I think it makes complete sense. You'll see us expand the assortment to, six. I mean, obviously it's going to go by 2s because of the way the modules are. So 8, 6, 4, 2 on both of them would probably make a lot of sense.
Yeah. And because it's got the SMPS, the 8-channel, what is it, like a 3U size box?
Yes.
Nice. So it's
smaller. So it's smaller than the Monolith amplifiers. A little thinner.
Probably get away like 40 pounds or something, so it's manageable, right?
Yeah, I think it's roughly between 45 and 55 pounds, I think, right now. I mean, it's a lot lighter than the 7-channel Class AB amp, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I have a new rule now. I just don't lift any audio gear that weighs over 100 pounds. It's just not worth the strain on my lower back. So I send those to James. I said, James, you need to start working out, and we're going to send you the heaviest gear.
Yeah, my rule of thumb with that is if I am going to move it, I better damn well be sure that's where it goes.
And it's not moving out
of that that's location. It. Like even if it's the wrong spot, that's if I got to run, longer speaker wire. That's where it's going to be. It's a permanent installation.
Yeah, exactly. We got a comment here from a fellow Monolith 7 owner. Owned it for 2 years. Absolutely can be happy with driving an Orendal sound. Great speaker system right there. Do listening parties and blow audio snobs away. Huge fan. I love that. That's awesome. That's a good tagline for you guys. Blow your audio friend snobs away. Your audio snobs away. Show them true power.
No, thanks a lot for the comment, man. I really appreciate it. And I think that's the key. You don't need to spend $10,000 on an amp to get really good performance from it. I mean, honestly, I've been reading Audioholics forever, and it was, Gene, it was your amplifier reviews that sort of brought that to light, that there were amplifiers much less expensive. I think it might have been Outlaw. Maybe it was Emotiva. Yeah. I mean, this was early 2000s, right? Mm-hmm. And it was just, from a pure measurement level, like a lot of these lesser expensive amplifiers blew away amplifiers that were much more money.
Yeah.
So you don't need to spend a lot. You're good with a Monolith amplifier, an Emotiva, or an Outlaw. I mean, I hope you buy Monolith, but I mean, you're going to be good with those.
No, they're legitimately well-engineered products, and they get you, almost all the way there in most cases, unless you have some really difficult speaker loads that need a lot of power. I mean, when we did the 2-channel Monolith, I think I tested the 2-channel. I measured that, and then Teo reviewed the 7-channel. Yeah, and I thought that thing measured great. I mean, you look at it. In fact, I just recently did a amplifier video on YouTube, and I talked about the power curve. Good amplifier manufacturers rate their power before the knee of the curve, before it goes up, right? And that's kind of the case with what you guys are. Very conservatively rated amplifiers. The distortion profile is very flat and linear. The noise is good. The harmonics are good. When you check, with an FFT, it's just good engineering chops is what I see when I look at one of your amplifiers. And the build quality, which really means a lot because you want the thing to last. You don't want it to blow out a day after the warranty is up.
Right. No, the Monolith amps, and truthfully, anything built by ATI lasts pretty much forever.
Mm-hmm. They've been doing it for 3 decades, as far as I know. The first time I heard about ATI, I think, was in the mid-'80s, and they were already a pretty well-revered company. 80s or 90s, somewhere around there. Yeah,
I mean, like from my perspective, if you think about it from like just being an audio fan, they're basically like 3 major amplifier designer guys whose names you might know. And it's like Morris Kessler, John Curl, and Bob Carver. I mean, you know what I mean? Which some of that may date me a little bit, but it's like I said, I'm incredibly fortunate to be working with Morris Kessler and the folks over at ATI. They're great people and have been a tremendous part of building the Monolith brand and making it what it is. So it's been great.
Awesome. Got a super chat here from Don Hensley. I thought at first I read that, I'm like, Don Henley, awesome. We got Don Henley here. Anyways, it says just become part of the Monolith family. I just purchased two of the M215s. Those are those refrigerator size subwoofers.
So I guess my main question for him is why not 4? You need one.
Where are you putting
corner
those
at this point?
Oh my goodness!
Wow, 2 dual 15s. I am envious of your room.
Yeah, really. That must be. I hope it's a big room. I hope it's not like a bedroom that you're putting those in, and you're
he's probably like, it's the home office, man. It's like a 10 by 10.
Wow, that's gonna be some killer output right there.
That's insane. And that what's cool is you will. Well, I don't say this, but like. Those have so much output, you will never, with using 2 of those, you will never stress them out. Like I can never, you know what I mean? You will have prodigious amounts of clean bass in that room. I can't see. I would never see them. I mean, unless you're going to go, like a JTR dual 18s. I couldn't see a reason for you to ever need to upgrade.
Yeah, really. So someone also mentioned here that their Monolith 7 never gets above 85, 90 degrees. And that's because they don't skimp on heatsink area. So that thing is well ventilated, right? Got a good power supply. The transformer itself is not oversaturating and heating up. I mean, these parts do matter. And that's one of the biggest problems with a lot of the AVRs these days is they're putting all of these Atmos receivers, these 11-channel, 13-channel Atmos receivers in 7-channel chassis. And they're just putting more amplifiers into a cramped space using the same heatsink area. So these things always run hot. And if you don't ventilate them right, heat is the enemy of electronics. They're not going to last.
Yeah. And I also think too, it's a little bit of, this isn't just about Monolith family, just for Class AB, beefy Class AB that they always run super hot. And, you need to be, you do definitely need to be careful with ventilation, obviously, for all your components. But, if it is properly ventilated, it's not like you can fry an egg on the chassis or something like that. They will run relatively cool with no problem. That's the other thing too, is most of the time you're not even tapping out the amplifier's reserves anyway.
Yeah.
Most of the time you're listening at like 3 watts. You know what I mean? You're just watching direct TV or cable. It's like you're not taxing it anyway until you get some severe multi-channel action.
Right. All right, guys. Well, Hobie. I keep saying your name.
Hobie.
Sorry about that.
Hobie is what we do. Hobie is my.
It's
name.
Your hobby. Hobie. It's your hobby. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a strange name, so it's all right.
No, I like it, man. Hey, it was great having you here on our virtual press event to talk about Monolith under Monoprice. Glad to see you guys are churning out more and more products. You're the genesis of audio. I'm going to call it. That's my quote. You're the genesis of audio. I'm going to get that tattooed. Believe it or not, I'm actually, not to get off topic, but my wife's due for a new car. She's had the van for like 10, 11 years, and we're looking at the GV70 versus the BMW X3. And I never thought I'd see the day where I'd be cross-shopping BMW with Hyundai. But here we are. Right. Well, there was a time, man, when like an LG or a Samsung TV were garbage. Yeah. Like when LG was Lucky Gold. They're still Lucky Gold Star. But like Gold Star, talk about brand rehabilitation. And Hyundai is another one. Yeah. It's amazing what all those guys have done. The Koreans, man, they're slaying it with the cars and they're slaying it with the streaming TV. Damn, Squid Game is like the #1 downloaded, watched thing on Netflix, and it actually is really good. I don't know if that show is great. I love Squid Game. Yeah, I can't wait for season 2. And the sound quality is good. It's in Atmos and it's in 4K or HDR10. I remember what it was the HDR. It was one of those. Actually pretty nice. Yeah. So someone here, last comment here, Monoprice is one of the only companies that puts all of its sub measurements on their website. I really appreciate that. Your subwoofers back up the hype. I have 2 Mono 15s and love them. That is a very valid point because very few companies actually disclose measurements. And, if I can quote Dr. Floyd Toole, he says, you usually get more useful information off the sidewall of a car tire than you do out of a manufacturer's website for speakers. So kudos to you guys for actually taken the time to do these measurements. You know, they're not trivial. To do the CEA 2010 measurements correctly, to have a calibrated microphone, to get consistency. I can't tell you guys the struggles that James Larson goes through to make sure he's consistent, but he is consistent. And there's very few people, especially in the review field, that are doing it at this level. And
thanks to D-Dub for buying 215s. I appreciate it. And it was, since Monoprice was new at this, right, putting out quote unquote high-end audio gear, it was important to me that we were honest in the specs and we were transparent. Because it's one thing when a manufacturer does post their specs, and then once reviewers get them, the specs aren't remotely close, right? I mean, there was a question like on the Encore, the sensitivities isn't really that high. It's like 85, 60 dB, right?
mm-hmm.
But like, a traditional speaker manufacturer may just post it at 90 dB or something like that. So we actually just put what it really is. And that's why with the subwoofers, when we first launched them, I mean, I put the performance out to the third harmonic, right? And nobody does that.
Yeah. Even
SVS doesn't just post CEA measurement. I'm not knocking them. Their subwoofers are insane. But it was, I thought, a good way for us to build trust, that we will post the data. We have measurement reports on the amplifiers. Where we can, we will be as transparent as possible. And to your point, sometimes measuring this stuff is really hard and we just can't do it.
And truth is a marketable commodity. So by you disclosing all this information, you're building a loyal fan base. You're getting a lot of bass heads that don't mind having a large box in their room. That's a hard business model to thrive in. And I love hearing the fact that you guys you're keeping the man card in audio by having subs.
Well, that's right. All of our subs are built with like any man thing, but brawn and steel. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I'm an enthusiast first, and I had to, you have to think, where do these need to perform as far as CEA goes before I would buy it. And so it's, I love, it's not always great to live and die by CEA measurements, but it is a pretty good barometer of where the subwoofer sits in performance.
Yeah. I mean, it's especially because you're doing apples to apples for everybody.
Correct.
One question I forgot to ask you, and I meant to, your subwoofers, the only thing that they don't have, aside from their incredible performance, they don't have an app. Are you guys looking at potentially doing some DSP work to get an app in there to do PEQ from your phone, or is this just not something that we should expect from Monolith or Monoprice going forward?
So, I mean, what I said before, I think sort of for me holds true. And then I'll probably be proven wrong, and we'll probably have an app in 18 months. But but I don't fidget with my sub. I set it up. I put it where it's going to work in my room, either through a sub crawl or wherever the room allows me to put it. Mm-hmm. I run Dirac or Odyssey or Trinov, whatever system you have, and that's it. So subwoofer volume control is on any receiver or any processor to raise it up or down. I don't need a separate app to do that. And I think, actually, if you talk to the folks at some of these calibration companies, they'll tell you, like, running a one filter before and then you run Dirac over that isn't doing anything. Like that, their system is going to catch that little filter you put on their PEQ filter, that one, at least from their perspective.
You would hope. I mean, I don't have a lot of faith. I don't have a lot of faith in autocorrection, but in your defense, the HTP1 has, how many bands of manual PEQ do you have in each channel? 7?
Yeah, it's a lot.
7. Yeah. So, I mean, and you have more than one subwoofer output on the HTP1, right?
Yeah, well, you can assign up to 5 if you want.
Right. So if you don't have the app, it's not the end of the world, because if you're running a full Monolith system with the HTP1, you could do all your PEQ, you could do all your time alignment, you do your level matching, everything from the fingertips of your remote control or however you access the HTP1 setup.
Right.
And then you don't have to worry about the app. But I'm asking just to punch a feature card because I know other companies have apps and
Right. But I don't want you. So here's my thing. Like the 16-inch is $700 cheaper than the equivalent SVS, and actually even outperforms it. Right, at $600 or $700 cheaper. Do you want to pay for an app? Like I don't think I just don't find that feature. I'm not.
Yeah, it's a good
I don't
argument.
want to go out on a limb. I just don't think you'll use it very much.
Yeah.
And so why pay for something? It's sort of like my TV that has everything built into it.
All the streaming built into it. Yeah.
I have 50 devices with it built in. I would love to save $500 and have none of that built into my TV.
It's true. Yeah.
Right. Not that I think it would be that expensive. I mean, it is something obviously I'm exploring because you do need, it is a feature set a box that needs to be checked. Right. It's not something that is in the near future by any stretch.
There you go, Hobie. Give them to him straight. Nice.
That's right. The straight shooter, man.
You got quite a fan. You got quite a fan group over here, Hobie. There's a lot of good comments about you here. Good comments about Monolith. So kudos, man. You guys are building a great brand. I'm excited for you. I appreciate you spending over an hour here, past work time on a Tuesday night. Awesome having you. Maybe we could have you back in the future with some product in hand so we can do a little show and tell. I always like to do that.
No, I would love. Thanks for having me. I know I'm generally not very camera ready, but no, I'm glad to be. Like I said, I've been a long time reader of Audioholics before I was even a product manager doing this. It's been between Audioholics and ABS, it was part of my education into this hobby. And I've been into this stuff since before you can just look up stuff on the internet, and so a lot of times there was no way to find out about any of this. So any of this stuff about products. So it's great to have access to an encyclopedia of this and be able to kind of benchmark products and figure out what to buy.
Just think I don't know how old you are, but it sounds like you're close to my age, which we don't probably want to disclose.
So 25, right? 25,
oh yeah, I'm 26. Yeah.
Oh, well, you got one up on me, man.
So just think, before the internet, before we did our research on the internet, I was reading magazines like Stereo Review, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Think about how the subwoofer has changed from then to now, right? I mean, you didn't have these massive bruiser subs that could put out this much output. Not certainly
I don't even think anything like this. Like honestly, the first real sub I bought, I had a Klipsch 12-inch. I'm talking 97, 98. I had a Klipsch 12-inch, and I bought the SVS 2039 cylinder, and it destroyed that Klipsch handily. And I loved it so much, I went and bought another one. I still have them. I still have those dual cylinders. They still work. I don't use them, but they do still work. They do still work. But that was my, I was 23 years old or something like that. Or actually, 23 years old. And that was my introduction into real bass.
Wow.
Because most subwoofers back then, if they got down to 30 hertz, was kind of a rarity.
Yeah.
Probably, I think. Because nobody wanted the big box back then, it seemed like, or nobody thought they did.
Yeah, and you couldn't get so much amplifier power for the cheap that you do now, and you didn't have the DSP. I mean, the driver technology has evolved so much in the last 20 years. So, yeah, it's a great time to be an audiophile and an audioholic. Even with the supply chain issues, it's still a great time to do what we're doing.
Yeah, hopefully those supply chain issues iron themselves out over the next 6 months, and as demand, holiday demand kind of drops, I think hopefully we'll see it get back to
awesome.
Some sort of normal.
Appreciate it, Hobie. Again, guys, don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics. You get direct access to me to ask questions or suggest video topics. We appreciate your support as always. Check out the Monolith products. Check out the reviews on our site. We've got the 16-inch THX subwoofer, which got product of the year at Audioholics. It's on our homepage. Encore speakers are under review, so you should see that. Hopefully, I'm putting James on the spot. Hopefully, within 30 days, we'll have the tower review done. I know he's pretty fast at doing that. And so hope you guys enjoyed this. And until next time, my friends, keep listening.